Hey, good morning, IDHA friends. I am delighted to hop back on and do another half a credit of CE with you guys this morning. I have my friend Marty Kearns here. He is in New York. He's a director of customer marketing since 2011 with Lighthouse. For those of you who aren't familiar with Lighthouse, we're going to get into that here in just a second. But our purpose for today is to talk about communication and some of the stressors that we're really experiencing at the dental office during the pandemic and what we can do to look forward to making our next chapter so fantastic. And Marty's got some incredible expertise. I'm so excited to have him with us here today. And I know that you are going to be very excited about what he has to share with us. Both him and I will be available if you're interested in learning more about tools that we can use to help this next chapter truly be the best yet and so fantastic as a clinician, but also really great for our patients. So good morning, Marty. How are you today?
Good morning, Brandi. Thank you for having me. I am great under the circumstances. Can't complain. Thank you. How are you?
I'm really great. I've been looking forward to this conversation so much because we have a lot going on right now. And the first thing that I want you to speak to us about is what the heck are we supposed to do with this chaotic schedule at the dental office? I'm dying. I'm so sweaty. Like, help me understand how we can move away from that chaos.
I'm with you. In fact, we can argue that things could have been a little chaotic pre-COVID, right, for some offices. I think COVID-19, if there's anything learned from our perspective in patient relationship management, patient engagement, having a consistent schedule is a real darn hard thing to do now. I'm a parent, Brandi, you're a parent. If we just put ourselves in the patient's perspective, our day-to-day, our schedules are so different. Our daily agenda is so different than what it was 6-7 months ago. And so as we're dental patients too, right, it becomes more and more difficult to, adhere to any commitment on your calendar as things are fluid and dynamic, and working from home and managing your family schedule and social agenda can be a real challenge. And so for Lighthouse, and frankly for much of the industry, we've been forced to look at solutions and adapt to solve for that challenge, because it's real. It's not your fault. It's not the patient's fault. It's just the reality of living in a chaotic time.
Right? I agree wholeheartedly. So what is step one? Like we know that this whole thing, no matter your situation, is a mess. We've got some chaos. So as a hygienist in a practice, what would you tell me the first thing that I can do to start working my way out of that would be?
Yeah, great question. First, of course, looking at your schedule and finding opportunities to build a quality engagement, find time for you to reach out to your customers, because your patients, excuse me. The important thing is, like, our patients' anxiety pre-COVID was probably through the roof, right? As is, there's always patient anxiety for dental work, even hygiene. But to answer your question, I would find areas of opportunity where you can build a better connection and reach out to your patients to regain their confidence, let them know everything's okay, and most especially let them know that you've got them top of mind, right? If you want them to be interested in you and come in and have a visit for hygiene or treatment, then you've got to show interest in them. It's just, how do you carve out that time to put forth a wholehearted, meaningful engagement with your patients and manage your existing hygiene schedule? And so it really comes down to balancing the time that you could be doing to build those meaningful engagements and build a one-to-one conversation, pick up the phone and call a patient, with adapting to any existing technology that can help you fill the gaps in your hygiene schedule.
Yeah, I agree. So what are some of the tools that you have seen be effective for offices that are trying to free up the time if they're busy,
Mhm.
or utilize open time if they're not busy?
Yeah, great question. So if they are busy, to answer your question first and foremost, there are solutions out there that range in cost and range in their sophistication that can help you save a ton of time in this effort to fill your schedule. First and foremost, that automated reminders are huge. And so if your appointment reminder process includes any manual steps, look for a automated solution to send a text message or an email, or if you have more of an elderly audience, one that can be nimble and help you automate a phone call to a patient who can simply press one and confirm their appointment. I see, too many offices who are still taking too many steps manually there, and that can be cumbersome on the schedule. The other thing around that is, for non-scheduled hygiene visits, sometimes, as we just touched on before, you're going to see a higher than usual no-show rate. It is what it is anytime, but especially during the health crisis, as people's calendars are chaotic, you're going to want to find a solution that can detect those openings in your calendar for you and automatically find a patient and fill that gap in your schedule. These are called different things depending on where you go. With Lighthouse, we have a solution called Fill In, and I can speak to our expertise for how ours works. Talk to your PRM on how and if they have a solution like this. But Brandi, when someone cancels on you for your office, right? You know, your front office staff or your hygienist can manually pick up the phone and try and find someone to replace that patient's appointment. You could do nothing about it and have the spare time to go on Facebook or grab a cup of coffee, or
Facebook is the last place that people need to be right now.
I hear it, but it could be a funny place too.
Totally.
So with Fill In, if someone cancels a hygiene appointment in your calendar, this particular feature can automatically detect that cancellation, and it will pull up, if you're using your sooner if possible list or ASAP list, provided you have one with your scheduling software, it will pull up the patients on that list. It will also look at their scheduling characteristics and criteria. What day of the week does this patient typically schedule? And are they due for hygiene? Okay. And so it's an algorithmic approach, fancy term for just a computer program that's looking for a patient who, in all likelihood, would likely, express interest in that open appointment. And so Fill In is taking this mix of patients from your ASAP list and this algorithmic approach and texting them, a group of 10 patients, automatically for you. Hey, we had a cancellation today at 11 a.m. Are you interested in taking that appointment? Hey, it looks like you're due for a cleaning. We had a cancellation tomorrow at 2 p.m. Are you interested in taking that spot? And so there are solutions out there like this that will help you save time because it's going to reach out to patients for you. And many of them will also allow you to automatically fill that spot onto your calendar, write it back to Dentrix, mark them as confirmed, and save you all that time that would have otherwise been a manual call, email, or text to a patient. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love the idea of some of that work that needs to be done no matter what, being done automatically to then free up some time. I'm a huge proponent of calling, reaching out, talking to your patients, because we know right now, with as chaotic as our schedules are as dental professionals, the people at home that need those cleanings and preventive services and you name it, they need us, are at home, and some of them are definitely worried about coming in. And so what I see happening in the offices that I work with that use these more automated systems is it opens up time for either the front office extraordinaire to call and check on the patients, just a meaningful, hey, how are you doing? And while they're filling the schedule automatically, the hygienist is also able then to focus on making a couple of calls. For example, if her 11 a.m. is no showing, and that's Mr. Jones, and Mr. Jones is 82 years old, and she knows that he lives alone at home and normally comes every 3 months for his perio maintenance appointment. Then while the automated system is filling her next block, she can take that time to say, hey, Mr. Jones, I missed you today. Or you don't even have to say I missed you today. You could say something like, I'm really interested in how you've been doing. What's new? How's it going? And then the conversation from there can be meaningful and open. And Mr. Jones might be worried about coming into the office and getting sick. And so then the hygienist has the opportunity to say the things that we've been doing to keep him safe. Or you can find out that maybe Mr. Jones needs you to drop off dinner or something. You know, I mean, these are real people that are at home for a variety of reasons, and maybe they're busy and chaotic, but maybe they're at home and lonely.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
tough to maintain a strong connection with patients, especially given social distancing. You're not seeing them maybe as often as you would, not just in the office, but community wise. But you touched on something really important there, Brandi, and that's, any technology you lean on, right? Any vendor should help you free up more time for you to provide a more personalized service to your patients. And care is not just what you do in their mouth, right? It's not just cleaning teeth and treatment. It's putting forth a concerted effort from your entire team, right? To make sure that all of your patients' experience with your office is top notch. And that's only going to happen if you really go it's not even mile, it's the extra step, yeah, right? To have a meaningful engagement. So I love picking up the phone and calling those patients who need it. An algorithm doesn't know Mr. Jones is 80. An algorithm only knows what it knows. Like, when was he in last? Yeah, maybe we know his birthday. So we can send him a birthday card, but we don't know those nuances about his life that only your front office and your hygienist and your doctors know. So I love it. If we can spare time for the office to really put forth an effort and build an engagement with their patients, then that's win-win. The other side to this is, if we can make life more convenient for your patient while we're at it, then we've made your life easier and we've made your patient life easier. And that's our mission at Lighthouse. And it's good to hear the instance that you just described, because it's a real life example of how we know the technology is allowing that to happen. Because if you don't save the time, how else does your team have a spare minute to make that phone call?
Well, that is a really great point, because one thing that I'm seeing with my dental offices across the nation right now is we are very much understaffed and overstressed. And I know that's not a blanket statement that's true for everyone. But if someone said, Brandi, what's your finger on dentistry right now? I would say, well, right now we have less people doing more of the job, and it can be overwhelming. And one of the things that I don't love to see for dental professionals, whether you're front desk, doctor, hygienist, assistant, is burnout. And so when I'm helping offices totally bust out awesome teamwork in a perio program, one of the first things I talk them into is hiring a minimum wage hygiene sterilization assistant, so that the certified dental assistants and the registered dental hygienists can be operating at the highest capacity of their licensure. Yeah. And we can teach and get someone excited about a potential in the career by doing some of the tasks that a hygienist or a dental assistant that's proficient in restorative work and things, can really focus on those tasks. And so what I say is, whatever your minimum wage is per state, you calculate that into how much more production that you do with your assistants and your hygienists running at the best capacity that they're educated to. And you not only pay that person, but you give someone else an opportunity to get involved in the greatest profession ever, which is dentistry, in my opinion. And you're still able to have the practice make more money, and the hygienist and the assistant be worth more and paid more. And so when Lighthouse comes in, can you share with me, I mean, I've seen it firsthand, but I want to hear your take on how does that same principle work for schedule filling and confirmation?
Yeah. So we touched on before, right? Many offices still have these manual steps somewhere in their confirmation process. And so we save on average 16 hours a week for customers who were using either an antiquated old version of a software or a different software or none at all, to switching on to an automated solution like Lighthouse. And it's not just reminders. I think we use that for one example. Where does this 16 hours get freed up on our end? It's, of course, in appointment reminders and in recall, especially. Filling last minute appointments. Okay, so step one, do you have an automated solution for reminders, an automated solution for recall, and 3, last minute cancellations. But with COVID, all these other patient relationship management tools outside of just appointment scheduling software have really moved the needle, especially. For example, the time spent just engaging with a patient in your waiting room when they arrive and you hand them the forms and they fill out the clipboard, they come back to you, they have a question, all of that can be automated too, right? And so it's going the extra step to automate your online health forms, automate your COVID screeners, get those to your patients via text message. It's more convenient for them too, right? So make your life easier, make your patient's life easier. To things like, online bill pay, right? Sending your patients to a text where they can remit their payment on your website instead of sitting there going, okay, your balance today is going to be this, and okay, here's your payment, here's your card back. That's all time spent. With each transaction, you can free up minutes per patient means hours per day and per week can really make your life easier. And that's our job. Make your patient's experience with your practice top-notch, as convenient as possible, and as safe under these circumstances as possible. And then for you in the practice, front office or back, spare the time so that you don't feel that burnout effect that Brandi just touched on a moment ago, and that you have that extra moment to pick up the phone and call the patient, or when necessary, have that moment for yourself to just breathe and take a moment in, go over your schedule, and really just calibrate so that you're not frantic and going through your day through the motions. You really can really plan out your day. How do you have time to do that without tools like this?
Yeah, I love it, and I couldn't agree more. Like I said, I've personally worked with Lighthouse and used it, and I know that there are many just as you said at the beginning, there are options of how to do that, and each office is going to have a specific need. But the point in our conversation in talking about how we can really maximize communication with the patients as efficiently as possible, so that those meaningful conversations are having, so we have time for them. So if you're saying that 16 hours a week on average is what the practice can expect to save on time spent on some of those menial activities, I personally appreciate it as a busy mom with a handful of jobs. I want a text message, hey, I'm coming, because if you call me, I'm going to be like, hey, Aubrey, how's it going? And I'll be so excited to talk to Aubrey. But I'm the type of person that I am going to be there, and I'm going to chat with Aubrey when we get there, and Aubrey can be focusing on something else because there is someone that that needs more than that text message. And it's Mr. Jones, right? We talked about him already. He needs a phone call. Hey, how are you? And our practices are just brimming with patients that need that personal phone call. So 16 hours a week can either help out that if we're shorthanded front office.
Yeah. And that's a reality, right? There's a lot of understaffed offices out there right now. And how do you free up that time? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's exactly to my point. And if we aren't understaffed, then that gives Aubrey a moment to look at our patients and be like, ooh, we normally see, Mr. Smith. We normally see. Let's see how they're doing. Oh, Beverly's. I think she's nervous. How can we reach out to the people that we know? And the fact is the front office and the hygienists and the assistants and the doctors really can look at that big list of 2,000 patients that are inside their practice and have a good feel on who needs a personal phone call. And so by automating the things that people that don't need that personal phone call, then that gives them the opportunity to really utilize their time effectively. And so whether it's Lighthouse or another company, I really invite everyone that's sitting with us here today, and it's going to be tomorrow whenever they click on, to really go back to why they became a dental professional in the first place. And I have yet to meet someone that didn't say to take care of people. And if your goal is to take care of people and you're just like everyone else, overstressed, chaotic schedule, how can you jump from this to focusing back on taking care of your people? And I, again, have used these automated systems and it is life-changing, Marty. Like, I can't even tell you the delight that happens with the front office team that has incorporated your service or another one. And also in the back office, the response of, holy cow, my schedule was full all day, just the way I like it. There's no one that's untouched by adding efficiency into the office. And I feel like the only caveat is it doesn't mean that we're disconnecting with our patients. It means that we're freeing up time to have the thicker, more meaningful conversation.
That's right. Consider COVID. If you haven't had this aha moment recently, to Brandi's point, think back to when you started the practice or when you entered the field, right? You wanted to provide care. There arguably hasn't been a time in dentistry where patients needed you more. The surveys and stats show us, that the need for dental work because of cracked teeth, TMD, chipped teeth, you name it, teeth grinding, clenching, all of that is up considerably because stress levels are up considerably, are understandably so. And
which I totally have to interject, being the hygienist. All that stress also increases your body's inflammatory response, which then makes you more susceptible to all inflammatory disease, including gum disease. Furthermore, when you're more inflamed on the inside, you're also more likely to catch, contract, and express symptoms of any illness, including coronavirus. They just a new thing about periodontal health and the risk factors with coronavirus. And so with everyone running around worried about coronavirus, why wouldn't we want to prevent having severe symptoms by reducing inflammation and seeing your dental hygienist?
We make a good tag team, Brandi. Topics, you put the spin. No, my point in bringing that up simply is, and I don't argue that anyone watching doesn't want those patients to come in and get that addressed as soon as possible if it's out there, and we know it is. They have anxiety, right? And we touched on this before. Patient anxiety, dental anxiety was a real thing pre-COVID and will remain post-COVID. But the surveys show that it's more than a third of adults still experiencing some significant anxiety around visiting a dental office because of COVID-19 too. And you touched on that extra call that you could put into Mr. Jones or whichever patients you have, top of mind. All of your patients need to hear from you, and you need to take proactive measures and steps to let them know what protocol and what changes you've made with your office to make social distancing a reality throughout as much of the visit as possible. Contactless forms, patient forms, for example, curbside check-in, all infection control measures, aerosols, all the things that you guys are doing. Don't assume your patients know that, because they're experiencing this and they probably are like, oh man, this is probably bad. I should probably get it checked out. And then the devil on the shoulder speaks up and says, hey, you don't want to go there. You'll get COVID. And probably a bad example, but you get it. You have to over communicate to them to maintain that connection and let them know, what you're doing to keep them and your staff safe.
I agree. And one of the taglines I like to tell people to use is, we're doing what we've always done. Mm-hmm. We are experts in preventing the spread of infection. Because of the pandemic, we are even more aware of how crucial it is that we follow each and every step and protocol that we know we need to do to protect ourselves and to protect our patients from the transmission of disease, of any disease. Mm-hmm. And when you hear that, it's like, oh, that's right. I was going to the dental office before and I felt comfortable and Brandi will use me because I'm sitting here. Brandi is an expert in infection control. And so I'm going to look to her to be my leader and my expert. And when you set yourself up as the expert, then that inherently increases the trust, and you're addressing that there is a problem and that we do have to be careful, but that we are good at it because this has been a problem. And honestly, since the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, we have been constantly learning and growing of how to provide an environment in the dental office that does prevent the spread of infectious diseases. Now, no matter what, there's risk with any and everything that you do. You even walking out the door, you have risk with life, right? But as dental professionals, we are absolutely experts. And so I believe, need to stand up, stand tall, and let the communities know that we are experts at this and we're continuously learning, we're continuously improving, and we're here to take great care of you and us. Look to us. We've got the leadership on point right now.
Yeah, that's really, consider that, right? That's 1/3 to 40% of your patient base right now is experiencing some of that anxiety, hesitant to schedule because of that. Hopefully you have the tools to reach the masses. Lighthouse customers can use the e-blast feature. You have two-way text for individual conversations and to reach everybody on a schedule for that particular day. But my point in bringing that up is examine the tools that you have at your disposal, because that is a difficult conversation to have hundreds or 1,000+ times over again with all of your patients, right? What tools do you have at your disposal that allow you to effectively communicate to your entire patient base to let them know about those protocol changes and those things that you're instituting to demonstrate your expertise and give them confidence in scheduling their next appointment with you? Mass email is great. Make it convenient for your patients, right? And make it convenient for your staff. Again, save them time so they don't have to manually write all these emails one at a time, or make sure that whatever system you're using allows you to conveniently pull up a list to target either all patients or specific ones, and send them a crafted message that will resonate with them and give them that confidence and motivation to schedule.
I agree. And I just truly believe that people need people. And right now we have so much great technology at our fingertips that we can use for good or for evil. And I believe that if we use some of our technology options to communicate well with our patients in a mass sense, then we are freeing up our not technology side to have those really crucial, more important now than ever before, in my opinion, conversations with patients. Hey, I'm thinking about you. I care about you. how's it going? And even if they're still too nervous to come in, how much better do you feel when someone calls you, anyone in your life, and says, I care about you? It's a small step that has an incredible impact. And so I really appreciate you joining me today to help get that message across. If I could leave everyone with one thing, it would be go through your patient list and reach out personally to the people that you believe could use a, hey, how's it going? I'm thinking about you. And what would be your one thing to leave people with?
Yeah, I'd reiterate the need to leverage the technology at your disposal to earn patients' trust. Keep them informed. You want to stay overly communicative these days as you try to maintain and build strong patient connections. And above all, make it convenient for your staff and for your patients. Everyone's schedule is chaotic right now, so the more you can do to make life easier through technology for them, the better.
Oh, you have been fantastic. For everyone watching, communicate with an exclamation point at the end is your code to get your CE credit, capital C, everything else little with an exclamation point. Marty, thank you for joining us here in Idaho / thanks for tuning in from New York.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Brandi. Thank you, Idaho.
It's an honor to work with you, and I really appreciate the good work that you and Lighthouse are doing to ensure that we as dental clinicians and professionals can make the most of our time and be able to take incredible care of our patients as humans, not just as mouths. So
it's our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, Marty.
You too, Brandi. Take care.